Surprise, surprise, the casino guy doubling down. President Trump, he ain't giving an inch, blasting off a new tweet this morning announcing he will be asking for a major investigation into claims of voter fraud. That's right. It comes just one day after White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer doubled down on the president's claim that up to 5 million, quote, illegals voted in the 2016 election. I want to bring in MSNBC Chief Legal Correspondent Ari Melber, along with my panel today, Charlie Sykes and Jason Johnson. Ari, first of all, I don't want to give you full credit here, but I do want to walk through the timing that yesterday Sean Spicer was somewhat trying to walk us back from this voter fraud, saying, well, you know, President Trump has believed this. He's heard it in some reports. And we heard from guys like Lindsey Graham saying, there is no fact behind this. You know, the president needs to retract this. Yet you're on the Today Show this morning basically debunking this, saying that there is no proof. And within minutes, ba-boom, Donald Trump sending out a tweet, launching a major investigation. So what's happening here?
Well, I'll tell you part of what's happening. You lay it out well. I was speaking with Matt Lauer about why these claims are false, but if they were true, of course, you would have an investigation if 3 to 5 million people committed crimes. And as you say, within about 2 minutes, we saw those 2 tweets from Donald Trump. Here are the facts, though. Pew has done the study that was mischaracterized by the campaign and by now the government. They basically found 24 million entries on voting rolls where there was a wrong name because a voter died, moved, or had been inactive. That's a paperwork problem. It does not go towards whether there are people committing the crimes. And the author of that study has rebutted this repeatedly, most recently saying, as primary author of the report the Trump camp cited, I can confirm the report made no findings about voter fraud whatsoever. What's particularly egregious is there are disagreements in life and politics and government, and many of them can be good faith, and we referee those sometimes. This is not one of them. I want to be very clear. The Trump campaign aides were called out on this by Mr. Becker, who wrote the study, months ago. Sean Spicer has reason to know that he spoke a falsehood from that podium yesterday, and now you have the talk of the investigation. Investigating what? So if you're the president of the United States, do you have to prove in any way to anyone and say, here are the reasons why I want to launch this investigation? Because this is taxpayer dollars. Well, we are working with our NBC correspondents at the White House about that today. The questions we're submitting to the White House are, what is the investigation Donald Trump is calling for? Is it about allegations of crime in the election of 2016, which would be a DOJ operation? Is that what he is calling for or instructing? And to your question, yes, there are legal requirements regardless of who's president. You want to investigate this, you have to have probable cause to get a warrant. You want to go to court, you have to have a much higher standard of guilt. So what he is calling for, is it a DOJ or is it something else? Does he want to have an executive order? Does he want to look at voter registration issues? What I will say is historically there is nothing unusual or problematic about the government through the executive branch or with Congress looking at some of these issues. They've done it before, and they've usually done it on a bipartisan basis. The problem is, and I want to be clear about this, the problem is what appears to be a deliberate effort by what is now the United States government to lie and confuse the fact that there are voter registration problems with an allegation that there were 3 to 5 million felonies committed, a massive multi-million person criminal conspiracy. And if that didn't happen, they need to stop lying about it. Okay, Charlie Sykes, the GOP offsite is about to take place in Philadelphia, where in theory they should be having a dance party all night long, and they're going to be sitting there with their heads in their hands going, what in the world does that, why would Donald Trump do this?
Well, first of all, can you imagine what he'd be saying if he'd lost the election? Right. You know, and this goes to this question of the legitimacy of the democratic process. So he is whining and complaining about this when he's won the election. You know, I mean, hopefully...
He also theoretically could say he's winning the week if you think about all the executive orders he's signing. Well,
but again, this is all this distraction that he's doing here. And somebody at that retreat has got to say to him, you know, Mr. President, please shut up. Just, you know, stop stepping on your own story. Stop, you know, we can disagree on a lot of different things, but, you know, Ari is absolutely right. This is a ludicrous lie. And rather than step away from it rather than getting back to the substance. They are digging this hole deeper and deeper and deeper.
But see, they're digging this hole so that they can dump the Constitution and voting rights into it, right? That's the goal here. Because really, this is about Jeff Sessions. If you look at Jeff Sessions' history, one of the reasons that our likely future Attorney General, even though his vote has been delayed, one of the reasons that people had real problems with him in the 80s is because he prosecuted NGOs and organizations that were registering African Americans and minorities to vote in Alabama. He dragged senior citizens into court in chains and had people crying saying, I will never again vote. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. This is going to be a massive attempt on behalf of this administration to crack down on voter fraud and use that to suppress people. That's what this is about, because it is a lie. There's no evidence of it. There's no academic evidence of it, but this is going to be the excuse. This is going to be the cover. And with no Voting Rights Act and with the pre-clearance gone, it gives them free range to do this.
I'm not sure that there's a great conspiracy here. I just think that
it's not a conspiracy. It's direct.
He's thin-skinned. He's obsessed with this. He's obsessed with the legitimacy of his president, and he just cannot let this go.
And wants to suppress the vote of people who might vote against him.
And that goes to the wider point. Sean Spicer is not just a spokesman for Donald Trump, the person. He is a spokesman for the United States. We all pay his salary, and he owes a duty to uphold the Constitution and the facts out there. So as an American citizen, separate from being a journalist, I am hoping he improves.
Well, isn't it fascinating, though, that the sales of the book 1984 are spiking? People are going back and rereading George Orwell to understand this concept of alternative
Charlie,
reality.
I was haunted by that book for about 20 years, and now it's back. All right, we have to take a break. Cokie Roberts this morning said what he needs is someone in the White House to rein him in. Normally, that would be someone like the First Lady. Melania Trump, we know, is staying back here in New York for the next few months. But someone, tell President Trump to just settle down.